So despite what it might look like, with the long shadows and the sun barely over the buildings over there, I'm out for a run this midday. It's actually exactly noon. There's some church bells ringing in the back, and yeah, the sun is maybe 30 degrees above the horizon as we're getting closer and closer to the darkest days of the year. I certainly have never lived anywhere this far north, mostly the opposite. And while it's not too cold yet, really, the days are pretty dark. It's getting pretty much black outside by about 4 o'clock, and we still have another 2 weeks before it really gets to the darkest day. The good news is that that's the darkest day, and it's only going to get lighter from there. The bad news is it really only feels like you have maybe 30 minutes when you could actually get outside and see the sun, even if the sun was actually out, which it isn't all the time. And I definitely think that I'm getting a little bit underserved in my vitamin D, so I'm actually looking at seeing if you can get vitamin D tablets. So I went to the supermarket where they sell these types of things, and one would assume that vitamin D would be one of them they have, being where we live, but they managed to have everything else except that. So Berlin's actually like pretty much flat, despite this hill that I'm on. There really aren't any natural hills around here, so what am I standing on? And it's actually a part of Flakturm, which is really interesting because this whole hill that I'm standing on is actually the remains of a flak cannon fortress from the Second World War, and they were so difficult to destruct that they couldn't actually get rid of it after they destroyed Berlin. So instead, these big fortresses are now part of the central parks of Berlin, and each one has a big hill in the middle that is basically burying up a big bunker. So this is the hill behind me here, and really it's not that big because it's really artificial, it's not real. So that's just yet another example of the history of Berlin everywhere.